So good evening and welcome, and Merry Christmas again from all of us here at UCFL to all of you. So when Liz reached out to me and she said, you know, Reverend Kathy, I'm going to need a talk title. And I tend to go with the very first thing that comes to me, and that can probably be a little dangerous. For those of you who know me, you know what I'm talking about. And so what came to me was all I want for Christmas. So I'm going to tell y'all a little story. My wife is probably going to be like, don't tell them that one. But when we first met, and she asked me, how do I celebrate the holidays? And I was like, with gifts aplenty. I had a 6-gift minimum, because I was serious about this Christmas thing. And then I had this year of 2024 that brought to me every kind of challenge and blessing that I could ever expect. And that's when I started to realize that all I want is not about the presents. It's about the presence that we have. So I want to invite you to join me in prayer for just a moment. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart, let them find themselves to be holy, 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 and acceptable in your sight. For you are my God, my rock, and my Redeemer. And for that I am so very grateful. Amen. And so it is. So here's the deal. When I was thinking about all I want, it was almost like an excuse for glitter. And y'all know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about glitter, right? You need a little glitter in your life. It was an excuse for being extra and a lot. And so when I started to think about, it's not about presents, but about presence, and I went, what does that mean? And I thought about the story that we just had a chance to witness, because I can't watch that without almost crying. Because there are so many things in there that I just can't, once I see it, I can't unsee it, like Bethlehem. So I have to catch myself when I'm somewhere with grown people and I have to say Bethlehem. And so what I thought about with this story was, if it's all about presence, how we show up, who we know ourselves to be, I realized that the story of Christ's birth is a masterclass in presence. Because Mary and Joseph, they weren't led to the finest gated community, nor was the Messiah wrapped in royal linens and robes. There was no fanfare, no Instagram, no selfies, no luxurious accommodations. It was just a stable, a manger, and one star overhead. That was the simplicity of that scene. And what I started to say to myself, if simplicity could be true in the birth of Christ, can simplicity be true in how we live our lives? And I feel like this in my home has been the year without a Santa Claus. My Christmas light guy, we have a great light fight in our neighborhood. So my Christmas light guy got a little weird, and I was like, never mind, we'll forego lights. Normally the day after Thanksgiving, 8 a.m., you hear little Donny Hathaway this Christmas blasting from somewhere in our home. But this year was silent. No tree. It was like the reverse of the Grinch. No tree, no lights, just love. And that became more than enough for me. So I realized that Mary and Joseph didn't ask for the presidential suite when they got to the inn. Now, y'all know every hotel has a presidential suite, right? Every now and then when I'm checking in, I'll ask for it because I'm pretty sure he's not going to be in the same city that I'm staying in. But try it. Let me know if it works, because I want to know how. I want to know where you were so I can go try it again. But they weren't looking for perfection. They were just looking for shelter, shelter for the night. Have you ever been on a road trip and you decided that you would just stay where you need to stay when you got there? And there is nothing like rolling into your favorite something inn, going, I just need one queen-size bed for the night. And you're like, And they start telling you who's in town. And that's why they have no beds available. But they've got just a humble space. They found something in the birth that was greater than anything that they could have ever imagined. So it's easy for us to get caught up in pursuing the perfect holiday. What did we do before Instagram? Because Instagram and Twitter, I have to catch myself. I feel like if I open my phone, I slide in and all you see is the bottom of my shoes. And when we get sucked into this, we are looking at images of perfection. They make it look easy. But there ought to be a little disclaimer that says, do not try this if you are at home or unsupervised. Because here we are trying to create the perfect holiday, the perfect tree, the perfect meal, the perfect gift, the perfect you, the perfect me. But what if we knew that we were already perfect, right where we are? And we don't need likes and thumbs up and stars and all these other external things to tell us so. That's just the way that it is. You see, perfection, spiritually speaking, it's not something that we can add to our lives. We can't run out to the local market and get ourselves a half a pound of perfection sliced thin. No. If we live, we uncover it. We discover it. And the one place where perfection always is in the moment is if you spend a little time in front of a mirror. Perfection is always looking right back at you. Always there, always waiting for you to look up and say, there you are, I am so glad you're here and I got this. So the beauty of the idea of all I want, it lies in the simplicity. It cuts through all the noise, the distractions, the posts, the sales. It wasn't Christmas to me because I spent the whole time at home. I got caught up in the Christmas spirit. I think it was over the weekend. I went to my favorite big box store and I got sucked in because all of a sudden I needed every gift card that was on the spin around thing. I needed towels and sheets. You would have thought there was nothing in my house because I needed everything that I saw. I think it's in the air that they pipe into the store that makes us that way. I was not that way in the car. I'm a totally different person when I go inside of Target. I don't know what happens. Thank you for loving me through it. But when we look at this idea, that night, the world didn't need flashing lights and grand announcements and Christmas music to recognize the arrival of love. The shepherds literally walked off the job quietly. They quiet quit. I think that's the first time we ever saw that in history. And then the wise ones, they followed a star. That was the original Star Trek. And then the stillness, I know, right? You can laugh right there. I was tickled, too, when I thought about it. And in the stillness of the night, the entire world, as we knew it then and now, it changed forever. So when I think of the Magi, these wise seekers who journeyed across the desert, the mountain, they were guided by one star. They didn't have to stop to ask for directions. It's like they knew where they were going. And every time I think about this, I'm like, they're moving around the desert. There weren't any signs that said Bethlehem, 33 miles. No, they just kept going. They trusted it. They moved by faith. And that's what faith does in our lives if we're just willing to try it. You see, the king sent them on a journey, but they took a journey of the heart and the soul. Their journey shows us what divine direction looks like. And it teaches us that joy and love and peace, that these are not random things that happen to us. When we say all I want is, it's like magical words. Because whatever you put after that, it's already there. We're already familiar. We're already connected. That's why we know how to say these things. When I say all I want, I am not asking for something that is unrecognizable. Because never have I said all I want is some liverwurst. More often than not, it's all I want is a piece of cake. Because cake soothes my soul. And so when we start to look at all I want, here's the thing that I learned in Unity, probably lesson number 5, that desire is not a sign of lack. Desire is not a sign of lack. That is our soul nudging us toward what's already happening. It's already there. You see, if we imagine just for a moment Mary holding that baby for the very first time and looking into that sweet face and saying, he's here. I want to invite you to think about what have you looked at in your life that you have been waiting for, and you see it for the very first time, and you're like, woo! Finally, it's here. You see, there is something in the blessing of saying and knowing that it's here. So this Christmas, I want you to consider the possibility. Embrace yourself for this. That you are the gift that you have been waiting for. Have you ever just gone from store to store looking for a thing that you can't name? Go look in the mirror. You're always affordable. You're always present, always beautiful, always loving, always you. And so all of this wraps up into one lesson for us. Less hustle and more mistletoe. I gave up the hustle for Lent last year. I'm going to give it up again. Because the hustle, that girl don't quit. So the shepherds, when they walked off the job and quiet quit, they didn't rush to Bethlehem because they had FOMO, fear of missing out. They were responding to a divine invitation. How often are you considering that when it is time for you to do something, that is a divine invitation? Metaphysically, the idea of mistletoe symbolizes that sacred space where effort meets grace. That's when we release the struggle, and the peace of Christ arrives not when we chase it, but when we finally make room for it. Beloved, they followed a star. They didn't chase it down. They followed it. They followed it because it was simple and it was right there and their job was clear. They understood their assignment. So ultimately, the all in all I want, it is simpler than we could ever imagine. Because the greatest gifts, they are often most ordinary. Things like, my favorite, the smell of cookies baking, the kindness of a stranger. I had more people say Merry Christmas to me this morning, and they didn't say Merry Christmas because, aside from the fact that shopping is a pleasure, they simply said it because it was true for them. It was a Merry Christmas for them, so they extended. So whatever it is that you are celebrating, extend it. Let it come out of the ordinary and become something unimaginable. So this Christmas, take a deep breath. Pause underneath the lights. Hold tightly to that warm cup of cocoa and ask yourself, do I really need one more scented candle? You can laugh right there. If the answer is yes, treat yourself. But if not, let the quiet peace of all I want wrap around you like a warm blanket on a cold winter day. Here in Orlando, that would be any time the temperature drops below 50. You see, when we know that the Magi didn't chase the star, we don't have to chase the stars in our lives. We just simply follow. And if nothing else, remember that Jesus was born in a barn So if your house is a mess and the holiday meal isn't perfect, if things don't go according to your plan, trust and know that you are already in the spirit of the season, and allow it to just be good. So may this season remind you that you don't need to chase the light because you are the light. Can we say, I am the light together? I am the light. Now say it like you mean it. I am the light. So when you consider all that you want for Christmas, perhaps this year is a year that it goes from being all to being all. And may that be more than enough to you, through you, and as you. Amen. Ashe, ashe, ashe. And so it is.